Albert LaMarche. So you got a cute bit of animation here. This is a cycle of a cool character on this enchanted little device, walking along like a bug. It's really nice. I don't have a whole lot of criticism on this to say. I think it's very quirky, very full of personality and charm. So I guess what I'll do is I'll talk to you in terms of animation mechanics, traditional animation mechanics and principles, and take it into the realm where I would take it. But that's not to say that my version is going to be any better than yours. This is going to be different. So a couple things I will point out is that the part of the animation that is the most solid is her torso, her chest, her upper torso and shoulders. Which, given the violence of the feet and all, yes, there's compensation. You get some really nice compensation in the hips, absorbing that quirkiness, that rapid motion back and forth. It seems unlikely that she would be so stiff up in this part up here, and so you got a nice little wave motion, but I would want to carry that wave into her shoulders more and then reduce her head a little bit. I like the fact that she's moving her head back and forth like this, but to me it's just a little bit unusual. It's making it look like she's doing this on purpose, which maybe she is. Maybe you're making her do that on purpose. But given that her shoulders are not moving, the head to me feels like it should be moving even less, because you're trying to stabilize the head. The two places you're going to stabilize in this kind of thing are the head and the hand. And I know you got the hand doing some cool little gesture here, but I would think she would want to be a little more stable with that, because that would draw more attention to it. Right now it's just flopping around like it's something that's light and not very significant, but because it's got fluid in it, I would want to see her holding it a little more stable and giving her some gesture to follow through with that. That's a little more subtle and reserved than the amount you've got here. The other thing I notice is that there comes a point in the movement where the legs, each side of the legs, if you watch a spider or some sort of bug walk, even in quadrupeds, that one leg will not pull off until the other leg is about ready to drop down. So when we get back here, so this front leg is starting to come off the ground here. As you see, it's up, and that whole side is up, and then it takes 8 frames for that foot to plant on the back to compensate. Basically what you want to have is as soon as this leg lifts, this leg goes down. So there's a little bit of a timing adjustment I would make there, just in the mechanics of that. And I would also want to stabilize this a little bit more and leave the legs to have the really violent action back and forth. I wouldn't want to. I would probably, I think this little disc that she's standing on would want to be a little more stable. But that being said, I mean, this looks like, to me, it's like a piece of furniture that's enchanted, that was under a spell to walk, which, furniture is not necessarily going to know how to walk as well as a bug, so that gives it a little bit of personality there that I think is cool. But let's just assume it's got a little more ability than this. So those are the things I would work on. So let's see what we can do here. The other thing, and I forgot to mention, is that usually when a leg is supporting weight it's pushing the hip or the body, that is the part where it's connected, higher. And it's only when it picks up that leg and goes into a passing pose that the hip drops, in a sense. So here you have the exact opposite. It's like the body itself is picking up that leg and sticking it down, and recognizing that there's limited movement in the leg itself. So the body's having to compensate for the lack of motion or capability of the leg. So, but in an animal species or bug, those legs are far more able to articulate, and so that would be the natural reaction. So it drops in the passing pose, and when it supports itself, then it rises at the midpoint of its support. So let's try a few things. So the first thing I would do here for the legs, I think, let's see, let's drive this by the side legs, the front and that one side. So I'm going to start with this leg as my starting point. So its first contact is here. So I'm going to put a drawing down. So that's its first contact point. So I would say here is the principal weight bearing of that leg. Principal point of where all the weight is on that side. So rather than have the disc down, I would rather see the disc a little bit more up. And I'm not going to have it bouncing around quite as much as you have it. So let's just say it's something like this. I want to still see the top of it. So that's my up position on that leg. Now when this leg lifts off the ground, you've got it slowing out. Slowing into that movement coming up. I'd want to have it snap up a lot higher so that it's hanging. There's a little more hang time. You've got a lot of hang time, which is really nice there, but I would give it a little bit more because you want that snap to come up rather than being so slow to get off the ground. Let's say this is your highest point of hang time in your passing pose. I'm going to put this, I'm going to draw this back here like this. I might have to adjust that, I'm not quite sure. Whoops. I'm going to put this back. So this is the last plant. Hold on, you've been bringing that up there, so that's a bit too high. Okay, so I've got us back to this. So here it's coming in, and then it's going to pop up just like it's got. I'm going to just put it right back. Oops. Forgot. I'm not used to TV Paint. I keep forgetting I have to insert those kinds of things. Oh. Let me do this. So I'm just going to insert this. We're going to go right back to this. And I'm going to follow your animation up into that pose. So at these high poses, that passing pose, even though it's really high, it feels like the disc ought to go up on that side, but I'm going to drop it down. So if this is my placement of that, at this high point, I'm going to try just dropping it down just a bit, not a lot. Not as much as you've got on this. Let me just see. Ought to be using the light table, but I just want to get this sort of worked out somehow. So that's the high point, let's say. Hold on. So that's... So now what I want to do is then look at this leg, this other four leg. Well, no, let's work on this one since they're working together on the side. So as soon as this one pops off, as soon as this leg comes off, I want this leg to come down. And where's it going to? Let me turn on my light table. This. So it's going to hit almost right underneath there. I think that's going to be it. I think that's sort of where you got it. Oops. If I turn off, I think if I turn off these two, I'm not used to TV Paint, but if I turn off those two, I can go here and draw on the same drawing. Actually, yes, I can just trace what you've got there. So, which is what I want to do. So on that last leg, that back leg can come up Now it's not going to be perfect because you got the back leg sort of hanging on for a while. So as soon as that leg goes down and takes the weight, the front leg, that back leg can be coming up. So I'm going to say that back leg should come up here. So I'm going to pull it off. I'm just going to pop it up off the ground. Let's find that passing pose, that high passing pose that you've got. Let's just say the high passing pose is this one for that leg. That's your high passing pose. So the disc is going to go the opposite direction. Since that one's up the most, I'm just going to tip like that. So it's going to come up higher here. Let's just exaggerate it a little bit. Something like that. There's the plant. Here it's let's say here it's supporting itself on its full weight. So I might have to my lack of tune gum experience is here showing up. So that's its full weight bearing part. So when it's bearing its weight, the disc is going to go up at its highest point there and be around like that. So let's say here, I thought we had done this, but maybe I deleted something. This is the highest weight bearing point. So that's its uppermost, which means it tipped the most, which actually you've got done quite well here. Sort of getting into that. Okay, so now let's work on this leg. So it touches down on the very first frame. So that's its first touch. This is its weight bearing movement, which means it's going to be up a little bit higher here, facing this way, and then its weight bearing position is here, so it will go up higher here just a little bit. Maybe I should have put that one there, but oh well. Let's see what we get. And I will extend it just a little bit back for its last point of impact there. Its highest passing point is here. So at its highest passing point, it's at its lowest. So this disc is going to be flopping around because I'm driving it by the feet and not by the thing, and making sure it's... So we've got those main points where they've tapped the ground, they got their weight bearing, they've got their last position, and then their highest passing pose on each one of those. So now if I just in between, I'm going to turn on my light table, and in between it all, just on twos. So first working on my keys, but in general I am just going to keep what you have, Albert, in terms of positioning. Because I think it's working nicely. Yeah, it's a bit of a wobbly thing there. There's something going on there. But anyhow, you see how it's got a little bit of a different sensibility in the movement, not a whole lot. The strongest thing, I think, is the timing between these two legs. It's that slight little adjustment of that last leg. Really helped it. Now, I think if I was to go back and do this, is this my rough animation, I want to delay this leg's timing just by a bit, perhaps. Anyhow, so that's the legs. Let's not dwell too much on that one. So up here on the body, there, like I said, I like the fact that you've got the leg sort of absorbing this, but you might want to see what you've got. Well, it's going to be a little bit different now because I've adjusted this, but I'm just going to keep what you've got irrespective of what I put in. So this is your extreme on this, let's just say, sort of an S curve. So that the long line of this pose would be like this, S. I'm going to keep that. And in yours, the hips are going like that. In mine, the hips would go like that. But so let's say this is the S curve in the opposite direction. So it's basically falling through on that rear leg to support. The foreleg is just helping counterbalance it, but that S curve there is coming along this. Okay. So you got this to that. That's your S curve. So I would want to fix this one. So this, if that's going that way, this one's going this way. Right? Counterbalance those things. And then this one is in between. So as this one is going back, I would want to pull her whole body back a bit this way. And as she's forward, I like to exaggerate that a little bit more forward on that side. Enhance that S curve, which means her shoulder is going to be more up. Here, her arm is going to be more down. Let's try to stabilize that. Let's say that that's our key. That's the goal, is to keep that stable. So because we're going to wave, do that wave pattern, she's trying to keep her head up. So let's just keep her head up there, looking forward. And that one. And then here, she's trying to keep her head forward. So I think that's fine. I'm not sure I would. Here, the arm is down. Further. And her. She's trying to keep that. I would tip it that way. So back here. And this one. Let's tip it back just a little bit that way. So now it's just a matter of breaking it down. Let me just do it in here. Straighten up a bit. Maybe I would put a rotation overhead so it's not just going back and forth. So this movement, it's going up and then it's down. So this is the upward passing movement. Here, I need to copy this one somehow, so bear with me. Try to figure out how to copy that drawing here just so I can have a base to work with. See if that works. Ah, it works like that. Good. So now I can come in here and do it in between. Oops. Now, I do not know why that light table bit will not bring in that drawing for me to help me. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be doing it. But it's not. Anyhow, I think you get the idea. If we turn off the light table and play it. That pop over here is just kind of drawing. There. Yep. This is on 6s. The only thing you don't have is this pass and pose. So I'm going to bring it right up to it and see what it does. Look at that, it won't even give me that. Oh, like, there we go, there we go. Alright. So I think it's so important to see it. So here, I want our head just to lower just a little bit. That way, our head is not just rocking back and forth. There's a little bit of a rotation going on here. And let me just put it on 4s. Long. I got this one. So 18. So these are just rough ideas of how you can approach this thing. So let's turn this off, this plant. That way her body now is not so rock solid. There's a lot more movement there. Now the only thing that I don't have here, which I didn't really work out too well, is that the head should be delayed in its movement. And if I was to do this over, I would make sure that there's a wave motion and it's followed. The head is secondary to the shoulders, but right now I've got it attached to the shoulders, so it's keeping in time with the shoulders exactly, rather than having that wave movement. But I think this shows you. Let's look at the whole thing. Whoops. Starting from here. Just a different approach to it. That might give it some. The only other thing I would say, Albert, just as let me just take a look at this. There's one more thing that I had in mind, and I will change my color so that you can see this. Is that, let's say your perspective lines, your perspective line is cool. I mean, I love the perspective you've got going here. So those are your perspective lines. I would want to see that carried maybe a little bit stronger and aggressively. Because right now you're sort of going like this with your windows going into the back. I would want to exaggerate that just a bit more. I don't know how you're doing this in Toon Boom, but if this is you've got this, then I would want to see this one smaller, and then maybe see another one back there. I know that's your thing, so that you have a sense of more of an exaggerated sense, because you got such an exaggerated sense of perspective here. I would just want to push it a little bit more in there, and that would bring that down. So I don't know what materials you have there, if that's something you would consider doing, but that's just a minor detail. But as I said, this is a lovely piece of work that you've done. Thanks for sharing this with us.